Welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing something I kind of want to do because I like low-hanging fruit. Yeah, that's right. It's a Steve Shives video. Take it away, Steve.
There's a lot of rage being displayed by many of my fellow cisgender white men.
Before we go any further, are these cisgendered white men like yourself fellows as in friends, so Hillary voters and angry because of that election you had, or are you generalizing most white men like those that voted for, say, Trump? That all being said, I'm guessing you mean the Trump ones. The look of anger on your face says everything.
You see it on a daily basis on the internet. You saw it during this most recent U.S. presidential campaign.
The only angry white men I saw during this election were those that supported Hillary, getting very angry that anyone existed that voted for Trump. And I would love to see your proof that the cisgendered white men you call fellows are harassing on a daily basis on the internet. I only ask because you block everyone, so I kind of don't know how you know they exist.
And I suppose I could answer that rage with some of my own?
I think I can speak for everyone when I say that is something that very much needs to be seen, to be believed.
But when I really think about it, it's not so much that I'm mad at them, it's that I feel sorry for them.
Now you have me wondering, are you talking about the fellow cisgendered white men that voted for Hillary like you would have undoubtedly done because your wife told you to? Or is it the pity that we all associate with condescension because you think those people voting for Trump did it because white people are afraid of losing that power they hold over society?
Here are 5 sad things about angry white men.
Oh, I do love a good list. I can hardly wait.
Number 1, they're ignorant.
Sensationalism, it's ignorance.
In the mid-18th century, the English poet Thomas Gray wrote, "Where ignorance is bliss, 'tis folly to be wise."
So you couldn't find a female poet that maybe wrote something similar? Not Jacqueline Glenning hit. Just something, similar. Anyway, are you implying that those that live a certain way, or maybe even voted a certain way that doesn't conform to your what you would call progressive ideals, is ignorant? That's all I want to know.
Gray was reflecting wistfully on the innocence of youth, but in a different context, he could easily have been describing the angry white men who formed the backbone of Donald Trump's base of support during this year's U.S. presidential election.
They only formed the backbone because there are more of them, and that they were sick and tired of being shat on by people like you. You are, of course, completely forgetting here that now that Trump got the popular vote, we get the chance to look at the demographics and notice, oh look, it wasn't just white people that voted for Trump. Don't you just love that even in defeat, you managed to keep your aggressive rhetoric going by simply blaming people for the way things turn out after you treat them so poorly for so long?
It's not just what these men don't know that makes it sad, it's what they are happy to not know.
During the EU referendum result aftermath, a lot of people blamed the results on the lack of intelligence of the voter, because it came out that more people who didn't go to university voted to leave. And it is certainly a trend that is shown here with people who voted for Trump. Does it mean they are not as intelligent? And is that what you're implying?
They are extremely skeptical of science, except when they perceive it to reinforce their pre-existing biases.
Oh, look, I was right. And quite a large population of your country are still fairly religious. So being skeptical of science seems to be something that falls hand in hand with believing in a god. No offense intended, of course, to some that believe in God and accept some or most scientific things. Yeah, that sounds scientific.
They care little to nothing about the experiences of people different than they are.
Has it not occurred to you that a large number of people that voted for Trump, and some even for Hillary, struggle enough as it is, and were not in their heads playing gender or identity politics? They were playing the game of which one of these two presidents could do better by me, because I struggle enough as it is and want to live a better life. If this had occurred to you and you still think that they are just ignorant, then you are completely denigrating any issues they face for the sake of your own little agenda, which has a very low approval rating.
Their knowledge of history is narrow, shallow, and warped by the narratives of conspiracy theorists.
Are you still talking about angry white men, or are you talking about feminists? Because with that particular statement, I could not tell the difference. And who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck about history when it comes to voting on two candidates? Look at their platforms and making a decision based on that, or just voting as a protest to the establishment altogether.
Having said all that, it almost goes without saying that number two, they're easily led.
Well, as that has been proven to be true by your words, surely then the best way for the progressives to get these angry white men on board with their agenda and what they believe is to do exactly what Donald Trump did, right? I mean, that makes total sense.
Right-wing politicians and pundits are constantly manipulating white male voters with narratives about liberals coming to take their guns.
To be fair to those people afraid of losing their guns, we in the UK saw enough of it being perpetuated with protests and by Obama to make us think that you were going to lose your guns.
Immigrants stealing their jobs.
They took our job! They took our job! They took your job! They took our job! They took your job! They took your job! They took your job!
They took our jobs!
They took your job! They took your job! They took your job!
If only we in the UK had gotten to them first instead of Trump, we could have told them, they're not going to take your job! No, they're going to take your benefits and bleed your nation dry. Ugh. Idiots. You make a wild assumption and you've yet to back a single claim up.
Labor unions destroying industry.
But they don't. So how does the angry white man get annoyed about those, since labour unions generally look out for the blue-collar workers' jobs?
Or welfare recipients bleeding their country dry.
Well, if the option is there and you are able to live better on benefits without having to return to work, and there's no real incentive to return to work, why return to work? Why do anything to contribute towards society when you know society will look after you, when that is not the job of the government?
Year after year, the fears and prejudices of these men are used to persuade them to vote against not just the common interest of the country, but against the interests of themselves and their families.
It must be really nice to live in a little bubble where anything outside of that little bubble makes no sense to you at all. You don't understand the economy, the culture, the society itself outside your bubble, which is evident because you think they vote against their families. Their only interest is their family. They don't give a fuck about anyone else's families, and that's pretty much how most people vote. They don't think about the whole group. They think about how their president, how their government serves them.
And why? Why are they so easily led?
Just before you get to your third point, would now be a good time to point out that when Barack Obama was voted in 2008 and 2012, he got the majority of the black vote. Does this mean that they were easily led too because he was black and they united behind him because he sure as fuck did nothing in office that benefited their communities at all?
Well, in addition to their aforementioned ignorance, there's also the fact that, number three, they're insecure.
Everyone's insecure about something, Steve. Sorry, Steve. But thank you very much for pigeonholing all angry white men, because it means all the other white men that weren't angry that voted Trump, so let's say 99.9% of them, did it without your little 5 countdown doodah thingamabob, what's it called, chart table thing there. Oh, I don't English anymore.
For generations, white men have been told that women's liberation, racial equality, LGBTQ equality, and multiculturalism are going to destroy their way of life.
I don't suppose this time round you have anything to back it up. I mean, I've been willing to listen to your assertions for so long, but this one's going to need a little proof to sustain it. Otherwise, it just seems like something you would say to look for any kind of excuse to get away from people who are critical, eyeing on you block anyone anyway. Never mind, carry on.
They've been told that their governments are too big.
People are going to disagree with me on this one. Big government is not a good thing at all. It really isn't.
They've been told that the President of the United States is secretly a foreigner who collaborates with terrorists.
I remember this one. This was a good one. My favorite one was the joke Obama made when he said, I knew Trump growing up in the fields of Kenya. That was pretty funny. I don't know how you can equate that to the majority of angry white men, though. But it is quite funny. There are quite a number of Kenya birth certificate related jokes that Obama himself made.
They've been asked rhetorical questions like, why is there no White History Month?
While I understand the need to celebrate black history in all its slavery glory, I don't understand why you can't set some time to one side to appreciate all history. So, if you're going to do Black History, do a Hispanic History Month, do a White History Month. It's not racist to look at your history, your culture, where you come from. Let's face it, yours is going to be very European, and it would be very interesting to learn about.
Or why is it that the only group of people not allowed to be proud of who they are white people?
Ignoring the obvious association to the KKK, the moment you say you are proud to be white, what is wrong with being proud of who you are? I don't understand really why we have to be proud of the colour of our skin, but I do understand that some people, because they're white, are chastised for being proud of who they are, mostly by those that identify as progressive.
Or why is it that no one cares when men are abused?
How does this fall into the bracket of they're insecure? There is nothing wrong with wanting to consider the rights and freedoms and protections for people regardless of gender, race or sexuality. But it seems that the ones that are regularly ignored are men. This isn't an MRA issue, this is everyone's problem. Men can't be the victims of domestic violence even though the statistics are going up. Men can't be raped even though men are sexually assaulted. What is wrong with looking out for people? How is this an insecurity issue? This is an actual problem. You're just throwing this in because it's a perfect little example of something that is so inherently wrong. Men should take the beatings. Men should just take them. You stupid, bald cunt.
Or why don't they appreciate all that we've done for them?
Why doesn't anyone appreciate anything anyone does to help build community and society and improve it in ways that are meaningful for the wider audience? Apparently it's because the majority of people are pissy ingrates, and the majority of white angry men are uneducated, insecure, and misogynists.
Despite belonging to perhaps the most privileged class of people that has ever lived.
Oh, way to shit on every other nation with any race that ever exists in their history ever. You do realize the rest of the world isn't white, right? You define privilege based on how developed your society is. You don't define it by other nations' societal standards. You actual uneducated dickhead.
White men have been convinced that they are about to lose everything.
Or white men or those that voted for Trump were convinced by his platform to vote for him over Hillary.
Number 4, they're afraid, convinced that they are threatened from all sides by assorted political and social forces that are attacking their values, their masculinity, their place in history. Many of my fellow cis-hetero white men aren't merely scared, they're terrified.
Okay, so a couple of quick points to address in that long statement there. Firstly, they were afraid, but Hillary didn't get elected, so they're no longer afraid. Or angry. Second, their masculinity was only under threat from idiots like you, continually pushing agendas that identified their particular masculinity as toxic. And at the end there you added hetero to your cis white men. That's interesting because you have not mentioned hetero once so far in this video.
They fear the progress made toward equality every day by black Americans.
Without proof, that's just another swing and a miss for Steve Shives.
Latinx Americans, LGBTQ Americans.
Oh, that fear-mongering thing that somehow managed to convince black Americans, LGBTQ and the rest of the alphabet, and Muslim people that they were going to be in deep shit because of Trump and Pence. I'd be more worried, by the way, if Trump had been assassinated because Pence, worry. But otherwise, no. And this somehow took some of the people I know on Facebook that I consider to be quite rational to new levels of insanity. Congratulations, your fear-mongering nonsense and bullshit rhetoric actually worked and managed to corrupt sane people.
Americans who follow religions other than Christianity, women, and pretty much any other group with which they can't personally identify.
What I find really interesting is, first of all, you've basically confirmed everything I've said so far, but also you are bearing down magnificently on this rhetoric that cis, hetero, white men are the real people that should be blamed for this. Blamed for Trump winning, when you weren't going to win with either president. Both candidates are an absolute joke. And then you've got people saying third-party candidates voted for Trump. They didn't. They voted for a third party because the first two party choices were a load of shit. I'm sorry, but you're blaming white men for being scared of cultural change, essentially. And why? Because you can't see past the fact that their interests don't align with yours. I mean, your wife's.
They fear the cultural changes that they perceive as they see the increasing popularity of films, TV shows, books, and music targeted at audiences other than them.
Oh look, I called the cultural part right. Are you sure it's not because things that are being targeted towards those same men are being taken, twisted, contorted, to then be appropriated and distributed to a new targeted audience, leaving the original target audience out altogether? Ghostbusters.
They fear number 5. They're being left behind. And that is sad. It's not sad that their racism is being left behind, or their xenophobia, their religious intolerance, their homophobia, their transphobia, their misogyny.
Steve Shives, when you finally decide the time is right to let go of the leash your wife has you on, exit the bubble that is your safe space and behind that block of yours. With all the crap you spew in the direction of white men who up to this point have tolerated you for so long, tolerate the same bullshit, regressive, libtarded rhetoric you idiots spew, you will undoubtedly get your head kicked in by those same white men because you are continually misrepresenting, generalizing, abusing, and just being a cunt towards these people.
What's sad is that they are being left behind because they would rather hold on to those things I just listed than try to change.
Everything you just said can easily be applied to you and your social justice and feminist movements. Because rather than evolve with the rest of the society that has deemed what you stand for unworthy, you would rather bear down on it and then flip and throw it at the people that voted against what you stand for. You're a genius. Stop using buzzwords to try and devalue the merits of other people's opinions.
And change is difficult. It takes effort. But it also takes effort to vainly resist every step forward that society makes.
There is nothing wrong with change, much like there is nothing really wrong with wanting to retain your life the way it is. For the most part, we have equality, so there's nothing really wrong with wanting to retain it the way it is, so that we don't go down the path where we do intentionally go out of our way to attack a particular group or demographic because they are that particular group or demographic.
The deal is this, fellow white dudes, the future is coming, just the same as it came for our parents and our grandparents. It's coming whether you like it or not. You can live in that future, or you can live in denial.
Trump won, bitch. Deal with it. Thank you all for listening. Looking at? What are you fucking looking at? Wanna go? I'll fucking show you. I'll fucking eat you. I can fucking... Yeah, I'll fucking do it again. I'll fucking have you. I'll have all of you. I'll have you all. I'll fucking have... You want some? You fucking want some? What are you looking at? Come here. Come inside my face. Come on in, bitch. Come on. I'll fucking have you. Come on. I'll fucking nut you. Come on. You get it. Come on. I'll fucking have you now. Come on.